You're tired. Your body wants to sleep. But your mind? Your mind has other plans. It's still analyzing the conversation from this afternoon, planning how to respond to something that may never happen, wondering why someone sounded slightly off 3 weeks ago. And you just lie there, exhausted, unable to do anything about it. Most people just fall asleep. For you, falling asleep is an achievement, because your brain doesn't know when to clock out. And the strangest part, you're not alone. Millions of people are lying exactly where you are right now, not because something is wrong with them, but because their brain is wired differently. Deeper, more complex, unstoppable. It has a name, and it has 7 patterns that only those whose mind never truly stops will recognize. Other people can switch off. Clock out. Let go. Simply stop. You can't. Your brain doesn't work that way. There's no pause button, no off switch. No, that's enough for today. On vacation, you analyze why you can't relax. In conversations, you listen, and simultaneously observe yourself listening. In bed, you want to sleep, and instead think about the concept of sleep. And do you know what the cruelest part is? You can watch yourself doing it. You know exactly what you're doing. You tell yourself, stop, that's enough, sleep now. And your mind nods and just keeps thinking. Not because you want it to, but because this is your default state. And the most exhausting part isn't the thinking itself. It's knowing you can't stop, and still not being able to stop. Something beautiful happens. A moment that is simply good. And for 1 second, just one, you're simply there. Then the mind starts. What does this mean? Will it last? Do I deserve this? What comes next? And the moment, that was just real, becomes an object of examination. You're no longer inside it. You're looking at it. It's like a scientist photographing a sunset instead of watching it. The camera captures it, but the scientist missed it. You can laugh at a party and simultaneously observe yourself laughing. You can love someone and simultaneously analyze what that love says about you. You can celebrate a success and simultaneously doubt whether it's real. This isn't ingratitude. This isn't a character flaw. This is a brain that can't separate feeling from thinking. And the tragic part? The more beautiful the moment, the faster the analysis begins. As if your mind is afraid to simply enjoy it. Traditions, rules, authorities. Nothing is simply accepted. Everything gets examined. Why do we do it this way? Does it still make sense? Who decided that? But the sharpest lens they turn inward. Am I enough? Am I doing the right thing? Why do I feel this? And why don't I feel that? They can celebrate a success and simultaneously question whether they deserved it. They can be loved and simultaneously analyze whether that love is truly real. Other people take themselves for granted. You take yourself as a research subject. And sometimes, when you look at yourself too long in the mirror, you no longer recognize yourself, not because you've lost yourself, but because you've seen so many versions of yourself that you no longer know which one is real. That sounds like self-doubt, but it's actually the opposite. It's a mind that takes itself so seriously that it can't stop questioning itself. You start with a simple question. Why did he say that? And then, without noticing, you're 3 levels deeper. What does that say about him? What does that say about me? What does that say about us? What does that say about people in general? There's no end. Only more doors. Every answer opens 3 new questions, Every insight leads to the next unknown. Other people think in straight lines. You think in an endless web, every thought connected to every other. Sometimes that's a gift. You see connections others would never see. You link things that seem to have nothing to do with each other, and suddenly something makes sense that was invisible before. But sometimes you get lost in it. Not because you're weak, but because your mind sees too many connections to simply stay with just one. Before you go to the doctor, you've already had the conversation 3 times. Before you deliver difficult news to someone, you've already played through every possible outcome. Before the meeting starts, you already know what you'll say when someone says what you expect them to say. You rehearse life before it happens. And that feels purposeful. It feels like preparation, like control, like safety. But then the situation arrives. And it's completely different from what you imagined. The doctor says something unexpected. The meeting takes a different direction. The person doesn't react as planned. And you stand there, with 3 perfectly prepared answers to questions nobody asked. This isn't wasted time. This is your brain trying, in an uncertain world, to hold on to at least a little control. Someone hurt you. You understand why. You see the fear behind it, the history, the wound that person carries. And yet, it's still there. Understanding doesn't make the pain smaller. It makes it more complicated. Because you can't simply be angry. You understand too much to simply be angry. You can't cry without simultaneously analyzing why you're crying. You can't let go because your mind is still trying to extract the last piece of meaning from the pain. But here is the bitterest truth for anyone who thinks too deeply. Some things can never be fully understood. And the attempt to do it anyway keeps you in the pain longer than the pain itself would. A pause in a conversation. A tone that shifted ever so slightly. A random encounter that doesn't feel random. Your brain turns it into a story. Always. Because a mind that thinks deeply can't accept coincidences. Everything must have a reason, a connection, a deeper meaning. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes you see things others overlook, patterns that are real, meanings that are actually there. You've been right, more often than most people would admit. But sometimes, you construct meaning where there is none. Because your brain would rather invent a false story than live in uncertainty. And here lies the deepest paradox of all. The mind that searches most for truth sometimes invents the loudest lies. Just to fill the silence, just to avoid staying in uncertainty. 7 patterns. All in one mind. Yours. This isn't an illness. This isn't a weakness. This is how some brains process the world. Deeper, more complex, unstoppable. And yes, sometimes you just wish for a mind that would simply stop. But that mind is also the reason you see things others will never see. That's not a curse. That's your design